Welcome back to HKIBC. At least 54 migrants were killed when their overcrowded lorry crashed into a pedestrian bridge and overturned in Mexico. The lorry was apparently speeding as it tried to navigate a sharp bend in the southern state of Chiapas. The vehicle was carrying more than 150 people, mostly migrants from Central America. One survivor said the passengers, including many women and children, had been trying to reach the United States. U.S. President Joe Biden has warned of threats from autocracies as he hosted a virtual democracy summit that includes Taiwan. China, which was not invited, blasted Taipan for joining and accused the United States of failing to get its own house in order. U.S. President Joe Biden has embarked on a mission to confront authoritarianism, fight corruption, and protect human rights. He rallied over 100 governments, including Taiwan's, as he denounced autocracies, a pointed reference to China and Russia.
They seek to advance their own power, export and expand their influence around the world, and justify the repressive policies and practices as a more efficient way to address today's challenges. Most worrying of all, by increasing the dissatisfaction of people all around the world with democratic governments that they feel are failing to deliver for their needs.
Biden admitted that the United States has its own shortcomings in pursuing democracy.
In recent times, clearly, the United States is not functioning as a democracy. It is functioning as a plutocracy. A democracy is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. A plutocracy is a government of the 1%, by the 1%, for the 1%.
China, which along with Russia, Turkey, and Hungary is excluded from Biden's forum, launched a media offensive on the deficiencies in American governance. It highlighted the chronic gun violence, racial tensions, and discrimination and attacks against minorities in the U.S. The State Council's Taiwan Affairs Office, meanwhile, urged Washington to uphold the One China policy. Spokesman Ma Xiaoguang accused Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party of using democracy as a shield to seek independence. A couple in the American state of Michigan are suing a school district for $200 million after a teenager shot and killed 4 students. The shooting left one of their teenage daughters seriously wounded and another in deep shock.
This should have been a time in which they're preparing to go on Christmas vacation. They were leaving on December 25th. Instead, Riley's spending her time convalescing and packing a wound with a neck wound that less than 2% of people who suffer that wound survive. And Bella's been literally traumatized as if she was surviving in a war zone.
Fellow student Ethan Crumbly has been charged as an adult with murder and terrorism. The 15-year-old is alleged to have used a gun which his father bought just days before the shooting rampage last month. His parents, James and Jennifer Crumbly, were also arrested and charged with involuntary manslaughter. A U.S. actor has been found guilty of lying to police about a racist and homophobic attack, which jurors agree that he staged against himself. A court in Chicago convicted Jussie Smollett of 5 counts of disorderly conduct.
For him to fake a hate crime, fake it, and then cause the police department to spend enormous efforts taking him off of homicide cases and putting them on this case, I thought that was bad conduct. I mean, it was not insignificant.
We're obviously very disappointed. We obviously respectfully disagree with the jury's verdict. The verdict is inconsistent. So we feel 100% confident that this case will be won on appeal.
Smollett was acquitted of a 6th count of lying to a detective. Surrounded by relatives, the 39-year-old hurried out of court without stopping to comment. The actor told police that in January 2019, he was assaulted by 2 men who shouted racial slurs in the middle of a blizzard at night. Jurors heard that Smollett paid two men $3,500 for the hoax attack. He denied that he did so. Australia is ditching its fleet of trouble-plate European-designed Taipan helicopters in favor of Black Hawks and Seahawks from the United States.
The Taipans weren't meeting their marks. Simple as that. And we want to make sure that our defence forces have the best possible equipment to defend this country. And the Black Hawks will provide that.
Australia says the U.S. helicopters are more reliable. The country's 37 Taipan choppers were meant to last another 26 years, but Canberra found them too troublesome. It will now spend $5 billion on American replacements. Less than 3 months ago, Australia angered Paris by scrapping a deal to buy French submarines in favor of nuclear-powered submarines that use U.S. and British technology. Mainland artificial intelligence firm SenseTime Group may delay its Hong Kong listing, according to sources. Complications arose after a report that a company may be put on a blacklist, which will ban U.S. investors from buying its shares. Washington accused SenseTime of human rights violations in Xinjiang, an allegation that an AI startup has denied. The company plans to raise $770 million in Hong Kong and had been due to set its offer price today and start trading next Friday. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed down 259 points. Top 10 active stocks: Tencent down $9.20, Meituan down $4, Alibaba down $2.20, and Qingdao Brew up $1.20. Tracofan down 26 cents, Kuaishou Technology up 55 cents, BYD Company down $1.80, and AIA down $1.10. Auto sales in China have fallen for the 7th month in a row, dropping 9% in November from a year earlier. Trade analysts blame the slide on the semiconductor shortage, which curtailed production. About 2.5 million vehicles were sold in the world's biggest auto market last month, with new energy models making up 20% of the total. Electric and hybrid vehicles are gaining popularity on the mainland as the country pushes for cleaner fuel. Coffee chain giant Starbucks has failed to persuade employees at a store in New York State not to form a union. Workers at the outlet in Buffalo rejoiced after voting 19-8 to set up a union. If the labor board endorses the ballot, it would be the first Starbucks store to form a union since the 1980s. Staff at a second store in Buffalo decided against a union. Starbucks says it prefers to deal directly with its employees at its 8,000 U.S. stores, but workers complained that their grievances are often ignored. In the NBA, playing on back-to-back nights proved to be too much for the Philadelphia 76ers and the Denver Nuggets, as they both suffered heavy defeats. Raymond Yang reports.
Just one night after an overtime win in New Orleans, the Denver Nuggets traveled to San Antonio to take on the Spurs. The Nuggets were visibly lethargic, having been on the road for the past 2 weeks. The Spurs took advantage and built a double-digit lead in the first half. Reigning MVP Nikola Jokic registered another triple-double with 22 points, 13 rebounds and 10 assists. But it was still not enough to propel his team. That's because their usually efficient defense was missing. The Nuggets are third in the league in terms of points allowed, but they conceded 100 points after just 3 quarters. The Spurs saw their lead dwindle to 5 points at one stage in the fourth, but held on to win 123-111. The Nuggets can wrap up their 7-game road trip when the two teams meet again on Sunday morning, Hong Kong time. Over in Philadelphia, Joel Embiid is never tired of showcasing his complete range of skills. For the second night in a row, the big man dribbled coast to coast and finished it off with a rim attack. The Sixers tried to beat the Utah Jazz by pushing the ball forward. When Seth Curry launched a three here, there were still 21 seconds on the clock. But Utah refused to be drawn into a scoring feast. They stuck to their favorite half-court offense, finding the right man cutting to the basket for the easy two. The Jazz used a series of screens to displace defenders, and when the Sixers couldn't switch in time, that led to an open dunk from Hassan Whiteside. Rudy Gobert dominated the balls, grabbing 21 rebounds together with 17 points. Utah won 118-96 for their sixth straight victory. Raymond Yang, HKIBC.
In football, Tottenham Hotspur's Premier League match against Brighton has been postponed following a COVID outbreak at the North London club. The Premier League board granted a request from Spurs to call off Sunday's fixture. Another date will be set later. Under the rule book, a match must go on unless a club has fewer than 14 players available. But the Premier League said a decision was made on the advice of medical experts. The COVID outbreak came at the worst possible time for Spurs, who, like other English clubs, face a hectic schedule over Christmas. That's all the news for now. Thanks for watching HKIBC. I'm Sarah Wong. Enjoy your weekend. Good night.